Let's get ready to rumble!
Hi everybody! Welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, this podcast that does bad Dr. Nick impressions from The Simpsons, and also ask that question: Netflix or cinema? Where are you going to spend your coin? Where are you going to spend your money? Where are you going to spend your time? Because now, as I grow older, I'm realizing films take a lot of time to watch. My name is Tosin, and I am your host, and I am based up in Coventry, near Coventry in the Midlands. And joining me, I get that wrong every week, and joining me on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hiya.
How are you guys doing this week?
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm much more relaxed last week.
You were a bit hyper, weren't you?
I was sort of hyper, but then I went to sleep, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then, I think what it was it was such a rush. It was weird, wasn't it? I was like one of those manic, I don't know what they call them, but they call them manic super depressants.
And then, because we went to quiz straight
That's
after
right,
last week, and I think, you were like, you'd like been given a shot of adrenaline, hadn't you, before you got there?
So I wasn't on sort of top form last week. I was a bit odd. I think I have odd days, Tosin, a little bit.
I have noticed that. I mean, there have been times that you've walked in and you've gone, all right, cool. Let's go. What are we doing? We're doing good. Finish this thing. I gotta go. There have been times when you have done that. So we have done that. And let's be honest, there's some times when we could do with a little bit of that. But
So I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like the horde out of glass. I think, not quite so many people.
Swapping between states of mind.
Please no, Sean. Please no.
No.
Yeah, the horde. James McAvoy still gives me sort of bad dreams each time I think about him in either Split or Glass. So please no. But
okay.
Be Patricia today.
Sorry, what was that?
Sean has to be Patricia today rather than.
I should be Patricia.
Be Patricia.
Yes. Okay, I'll be Patricia. I'd be all smart and nice.
Okay, if you
fold my arms and say, "Oh my goodness."
If you're listening to this, tell us how many. Tell us which character or which personality you think Sean has this week. This could become like a regular feature. Which personality has Sean shown up with this week? All right.
Yeah.
So we are going to crack on with our usual thing. Today we have three rounds of Netflix cinema. So we're going to go cinema, movie, thing we've seen on Netflix. We're going to rate things out of 5. We're going to take an average, and at the end we're going to tell you who it is that we think has won this week, Netflix or cinema. Now, Sharon, going from last week where you were kind of like our Netflix and Friends correspondent, in which you had seen everything we spoke about on Netflix and Friends.
I'd seen everything, yeah.
We've had a bit of a change this week, haven't we?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything apart from one episode of Sky Portrait Artist of the Year. That is my viewing for this week. And I love that. I really love that. And I've been to cinema once to see a film that you've already reviewed, Jojo Rabbit.
Well, you could give us a very, very quick resume of that.
Yeah. What did you think?
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought I thought they got the characterisation right of the two boys, and suddenly these little boys sort of thrust into the Wehrmacht. It's just weird. But it's a weird film, isn't it? And it's sort of, if you didn't know it to be true, you would believe, you want to look it up and go, did that really happen? Did they really throw sort of Hitler Youth into the front lines? And they actually did.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And so, and it's funny, it's tragic, it's heartbreaking, it's unique. It's unlike, apart from maybe the odd Wes Anderson. I think there were hints of Wes Anderson in there sometimes.
Yeah, you could be right, definitely.
Apart from hints of Wes Anderson in there, I think it's quite unlike much I've seen at all before. So but I really enjoyed it. But my only gripe was, and this was down to cinema etiquette.
Oh yeah.
I went to see it at quite a small cinema screen on the island, one of the smaller ones. And so there's no getting away from anyone, is there? You're all very close together. And the family behind me seems to have a bottomless pit of rustling bags. They just seem to rustle and I don't just mean through the trailers and through the adverts at the beginning, they rustled through the entire film.
Well, it detracts, doesn't it?
And every time I'm thinking, oh, they must have finished that popcorn by now. I then heard this muttered conversation. Would you like some Maltese? Rustle, rustle, crunch, crunch, crunch.
Oh,
and then again, it started all over again. So I must admit, I probably would have enjoyed the film more had I not had the bad cinema etiquette around me.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like I was in a cinema screen. It felt like I was eavesdropping on someone's Saturday night television, like Gogglebox. I felt like I was not in a public place, but I was in somewhere that these family were like thinking, this is my space and you're just intruding on it. Because they certainly behaved like it was their space and not a shared one.
Well, you see, now that's the thing. I've spoken to a couple of people, like when I've mentioned the fact that I do this podcast and it's called Netflix versus Cinema, I've spoken to a couple of people and they end up saying things along the lines of, oh, I'm not going to the cinema anymore. Other people, they're annoying. Why don't you just stay at home? Netflix, you don't have to worry about any other buddy rustling anything. But it is, I think, it's kind of funny because I feel like the best thing about the cinema is the communal experience, and the worst thing about the cinema is the communal experience. So
yes, absolutely. Sometimes it can be completely immersive, and you're sharing that sort of wonder of an experience. Like when we went to see 1917, you got the feeling that this was like a collective, sort of moment of like, wow, what have we just seen? And then other times you can feel the irritation of everyone in the room. They're all like fidgeting about slightly, thinking, "Will you be quiet?"
It's like.
So it's you can
like I said. I mean, for me, one of my favorite cinema experiences of last year was going to see Blue Story with a cinema full of essentially young black people. And that for me was big. It was just kind of like one of these things where like a joke is made, and because it comes from that culture, everybody just sort of laughs and everybody shares in it. It's almost kind of like you're looking over going, yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, we get that.
Get that reference.
And that's great. And you don't get as much of that as not immediately with watching something on Netflix. So, but then again, people with your bags and your rustling, that's when they need to get rid of plastic bags in cinemas. Replace everything with, I don't know, like a wooden bowl. It's like you get your popcorn in a wooden bowl.
But it's like popcorn in a paper bag. And
I know, it's stupid, isn't it?
What? Lunatic thought that up.
As for me, the reason I haven't seen as much as I would normally is I've been watching the football this week, and I watched some football last night.
Oh yeah, because
I didn't know there was any.
There's midweek games.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was a lot of football. Yeah, so I normally I would have gone to the cinema on a Tuesday, but I just thought, it's a game on, so I watched the football. Yeah. So
we're a bit thinner on the ground this week.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, right? One of these weeks coming up, and because we're a film podcast, we really should talk about like the Oscar nominations and everything like that. I don't particularly want to. I am very, very disappointed. But I guess we should do that. Not today, but I guess at some point we should look at them and talk about what we think about that. So, speaking about Jojo Rabbit, which did quite well at the Oscars. But I don't know. I've just been...
I haven't seen the Oscars. Have they had the Oscars?
No.
Not the actual ceremony, but they've named the nominations.
Yeah,
of course. It's a busy time. Got the Super Bowl as well, and the Pro Bowl, and so like the American football and stuff.
American stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think that we need to have that conversation, don't we, about what we think about representation, whether the awards should be about representation or they should just be about the film, and whether the two. You can fulfill both requirements at the same time.
Yeah, that's a big conversation. That's
too big for sort of like 5 minutes before the podcast.
I think if we're going to do that, this podcast is going to be 2 hours long because there's a whole heap of things in there, and that's when you realize. And okay, let me say one thing. That's what you realize, for me anyway, is that the thing that I love, film and stories and all that kind of stuff, and that's when I realized that all those things that I love are not safe from politics. And that's all I'll say about awards and Oscars, and probably why I am just so not bothered about Oscars this year. But anyway, let's get on to talking about films. Now, we're going to go to the cinema first, and the first film that we're going to talk about this week is Richard Jewell. Now, this film is out in the UK this weekend, And Sean, I believe you watched it a couple of weeks ago. I watched it earlier, and these were both preview screenings. Cineworld got the preview screening before Odeon. That's all I'm saying. Odeon.
Right, okay.
Yeah, Cineworld got the thing a whole week before Odeon. Odeon, buck up your ideas. What the heck do you think you're doing? So, Richard, Jewell, Sean, do you want to tell us a little bit about what this film's about?
Yeah, I can tell you, but this is basically about the Atlanta bombings.
During the Atlanta Olympics, 96.
Atlanta Olympics, yeah, 96. And it's a story of Richard Jewell. He's like a wannabe policeman.
Yep.
And he's like, he likes to think of himself as being this super policeman, really friendly with the law. In fact, I think he had a little job, but he's a bit overzealous.
Yeah.
And he's a bit, he's a bit odd. Should we say he's a little bit odd? He's not your normal, you wouldn't have him down. He's slightly overweight. Anyway, he happens to get a security job, and his mum's really pleased, everything like that. And he goes to the security job, and it's police in the they've got the stage where they have musicians on, and he's sort of policing it, and he just happens to see this bag, and he's a little bit suspicious of it, and so he goes and he lets other people know, and so they come along, they sort of come along, and they discover that it's sort of a bomb, and anyway, so they move the crowd back. They're moving the crowd back away from this bomb, and it sort of goes off. And so, of course, the FBI become. Well, you get this little scene where you've got the ATF, and they're saying, "Oh, it's our jurisdiction. It's our jurisdiction." The FBI take it over, and then they decide, because Richard actually discovered the bomb, he is like the prime suspect. And then they start to try and find evidence, and he's had previous jobs before. He's been a bit overzealous, and they say, "Oh, fits the profile of a bomber, loner, blah blah."
Lives
blah.
with his mum.
And and basically they sort of investigate him, and personally, I don't know what you thought, Toes, but they tried to me. They tried to fit him up.
They tried to make the evidence fit him rather than look at what the evidence, where the evidence led them.
They tried to fit him up. Basically, that's the story, and. But anyway,
did they genuinely believe that he had done it, or did they were just desperate to find a body?
One of the persons did. One of the investigators did, I think.
Well, the thing.
Anyway,
this is funny, right? Because this is essentially a period movie, and I'm getting to the point where they're making movies about things that I actually remember happening in my youth. And I'm like, wow, because usually, when we talk about films on the podcast, Sean and Sharon, you guys say, "Oh, you remember when that happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, I was 2." And
no,
but now they're making movies about things where I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember 1996. I remember when that bomb went off," and I'm like, "Oh, good lord, what?" Yeah, and so I remember that this was a big story at the time. I was in 96 summer. I was still in Nigeria, so I was. I remember that it was big, but obviously you didn't hear all of this stuff I did not know about. But the fact that this guy's name he got pasted all over the papers, all over the news stories, as everybody said he is the main suspect. So there's a bit in the film where he talks about the fact that my mum got to be proud of me for 3 days. So for 3 days, he was this hero who spotted this backpack, who spotted this thing, and who, even though I think 2 people died from the actual bomb, but they said that if he hadn't spotted the bomb and if he hadn't alerted people to it and tried to clear the area, a lot more people would have died. And everything that seems to come about it is kind of like I remember, Sean, you watched The Day Shall Come a couple of weeks ago, which is all about the FBI trying to find people and stitch them up in the aftermath of September 11 because they needed to find somebody to pin it on. And there's a similarity in this, in that they're trying to find somebody to pin it on, because the FBI, like the way they put it in the film is that one of these guys, who's played by John Hamm, he feels personally slighted that this happened on his watch. So he wants to catch somebody and he wants to make sure that they get it, because, and so there's, the way it's put, it essentially becomes this media witch hunt. The film is about the media witch hunt of trying to pin this thing on this guy, when quite frankly there was almost no evidence. This was like Just Mercy last week. There's a lot of films on this sort of theme, where like the American government trying to pin something on somebody who who had nothing to do with it, and and that's what the film's about. It's really kind of like the trial by media that he went through, even though quite frankly a lot of the stuff that was being put out there was hearsay.
Yeah.
So sure.
Yeah, that was.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, so this is directed by Clint Eastwood. What did you think about the film?
Clint Eastwood, yeah. Well, I thought it was... it's quite funny. I quite enjoyed it. I did have reservations. I sort of was having reservations about this film. But because generally with Clint Eastwood, it's like maximum 3 takes, you know, and he doesn't muck around too much. He's like, yeah, that'll do, cut, bang it, you know. And there were a couple of moments in there where I thought, oh, that maybe was a little bit... You
needed another take. You needed another take.
Yeah, perhaps needed another take. There were, you know, odd moments. But I have to say, I think I thought for most of the way through, who was the guy who played...
Paul Walter Hauser.
Played the main character. Walter Hauser. I thought he played this really, really well. And for me, from a personal point of view, I sort of believed him. I believed that he thought he was some sort of... You know, he did believe that he was a hero. He was a police thing, and he was like, you know, he knew all the stuff. He knew everything about everything.
Yeah, essentially, he's a police anorak. He's the kind of person who I think, if you met him in real life, most people would just be annoyed by him because he's overbearing. He's a job's worth. He's kind of he thinks his job is way more important than it actually is. He takes everything really seriously. Like one of the first times you see him, he's walking around university campus and he's trying to arrest some students for drinking beer in their room, and it's so you can see that he has this sort of overbearing thing, and he almost has this sort of verbal diarrhea where he starts saying, well, you know, if somebody was going to build a bomb like this, I reckon that what they would do first is that they would do this, and then they would go over here and they'll go to Home Depot and they would buy this cap, that cap, and he says all these things that keep implicating him. And then Sam Rockwell shows up as his lawyer, and there's this lovely thing that just keeps popping up where Sam Rockwell is just, shut up, just shut up.
Yeah, he can't. But the thing is, to me, is right until, even though he's being investigated, he still wants to cooperate, and up until a certain point, and he still believes they're right, and he even says it and even when Sam Rockwell's lawyer saying, don't say anything, he's still volunteering information, still talking, because he believes, in his heart, he believes that the law is right. If he hasn't
done it, that they'll naturally find him.
And then there comes this one point in the film, which I think is really, really good, and that's the time when he says, I think I would like to...
I think I'd like to get a lawyer. Yeah, that is a good scene. I think I'd like to get a lawyer, and that is because they're like, you know, nearly... And he could have quite easily been, you know, oh, do this, want you to say this, sign this, say this, blah, blah, blah. And then he just says, oh, he goes... And they say, well, no, it's not, you know, nothing really, really important. And he has a look at it. Okay, we're almost out of time. So, Sean, generally, what did you think?
And then it goes into the investigation. Yeah, I really liked this film, actually, to be fair. But as I say, there were a couple of moments in it which I thought could have done with another take and were a little bit out. So, I mean, I'm going to give this a solid 3-star.
Yeah, I agree.
Have to be a 3-star.
I agree with you. I think it's a 3-star film because the thing is, Clint Eastwood, the older he gets, the more I feel he's a solid director, but not a spectacular one. Like I agree with you. He would tell you a story, and it will be solidly told, and it will be put together, and you will see that A joins to B, joins to C, joins to D, but it will not be spectacular. It will just be like and this is the second.
Yeah.
And two other things I want to say, Paul Walter. If you've seen the film I, Tonya, because the guy who plays Richard Jewell is in I, Tonya, Paul Walter Hauser, and he plays almost it's freaky how he plays almost the exact same character.
Tosin, I was going to say that it is the same character. He even looks the same.
It's the same actor, but like the way he talks and everything. There's this guy in I, Tonya who thinks that, oh yeah, I used to be in the Marines and blah blah blah, and I work for the CIA and da 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 da. And it's pretty much the same character that he plays here. Like when he shows up on screen in this film, I'm like, hang on, isn't this the character? Not even isn't this the actor in I, Tonya? I was like, isn't this the character in I, Tonya? Because he's exactly the same. And so I think that, and the other thing is, you know, Kathy Bates. I know we're not talking about Oscars, but Kathy Bates plays his mum, and Kathy Bates has been nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
What, in
this film? Yes.
Oh.
Exactly. That's my thinking. And this is what I'm thinking. I'm looking and going. I was watching the whole film and I was thinking, there isn't really much to this character. I was like, I bet you what's going to happen is that there's going to be one scene where she gets to give a speech, and that speech is what they're going to use on Oscar night and be like, and the people are like, oh yeah, oh that's acting, give her a nomination. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I was like, so that's what I say about it being like, it's solid, it's not spectacular, that it's what Clint Eastwood does, and he seems to have this whole thing where he does an American hero, it's almost as if he's criticizing America at the moment. It's like, this person should be a hero, but you try to bring him down. Because if you see the film Sully, directed by Clint Eastwood, it has a very similar thing, and this is one of his recent films as well, where somebody did some.
He's done quite a few sort of based on real people films, hasn't he? He's done like Invictus and what was it, American Sniper. Yeah. So he's done quite a few, hasn't he? That inspired or based on real people.
Yeah, I think.
And yet he's a staunch Republican.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Yeah. Clint Eastwood is very publicly and very famously a Republican. He's a member of the NRA, all that kind of stuff. And in these films, there's this undercurrent of him saying, these are American heroes. We should treat them as American heroes. But no, you guys, the media, you're trying to bring them down. You're trying.
Yeah. It's definitely it definitely shows the media in a bad light.
It shows the media in a bad light. And there's been a lot of controversy about Olivia Wilde's character in the film, which is why a lot of people reckon that because of the way he portrays her in the film, and reading between the lines, it's kind of like, it's almost as if Clint Eastwood wanted to assassinate the character. So there's things that she does that a lot of people have said that would not have happened. That is just, and quite frankly, the way that character is drawn out is just so basic. It's so so basic.
It really is basic. Yes, I agree, Tosin. Totally.
It's so but anyway. Moving on.
Anyway, so it'll be interesting when you guys see Bombshell. I'm looking forward to you seeing that and getting your opinions on that.
We've moved our recording forward, like a podcast recording forward a day. So we're recording on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. If not, I would have seen it tonight. But by next week, I should have seen Bombshell, and I'll let you know what I think about that. All right, now let's go into Netflix, and we are going to talk about Dolemite Is My Name. This is what? Sorry, carry on, Sean.
Oh, I was just saying, I actually saw this on, like when you flick through the film. And actually saw Dolemite, and I thought, I was sorely tempted, because I quite like Black Klansman, and it looked a bit, I should imagine, was there like a 70s feel to this movie?
Well, it essentially, are you talking, were you looking on Amazon Prime or were you looking on Netflix?
I can't remember which one it was. I got them both now because I got Amazon for three.
All right, because
days.
This is the weird thing. Dolemite is a film that was made in the 70s. It's in that sort of blaxploitation genre and everything like that. Dolemite Is My Name is a film about the making of Dolemite.
Oh wow! Yeah, it might be. It might have been Dolemite then. So it might have been. I might have seen it. But I've definitely seen the thing.
Dolemite definitely. Yeah. Dolemite is a Netflix movie. This is Eddie Murphy coming back, and he plays a character. He plays a comedian called Rudy Ray Moore, who is somebody that a lot of black comedians and rappers in America absolutely love this guy. They call him the godfather of rap because he created this character. Well, he didn't create this character. There's this sort of tradition that they have of storytelling from the South, where black people from the South, and it's usually older black people, will come and they'll tell you these really, really filthy stories all about this character called Dolemite. It's kind of like, when people would tell stories about Brer Rabbit. And so it's a bit like, imagine if Brer Rabbit was like, really, really filthy mouth. And so he takes down a whole bunch of these stories that these people like this, older homeless guys. He takes them. They tell him the stories, and then he goes and he turns it into an act called Dolemite. He's been trying to be like not a TV star, but like a stage star, trying to get into show business. And this is the thing that he does that actually takes off, and it goes big, and all of a sudden he just starts getting recognition for it and all that, and he's finally a success at something. But he has to go around the country, he starts off by selling he records his first comedy album in his living room, and he starts going around black neighborhoods around America selling it out of his trunk, and people are buying it in their droves. Then that leads the record companies who come and want to buy it from him and all that kind of stuff. But then and that's good. But then he goes to see a film, and he and some of his friends go to see the film The Front Page, And he looks up at the cinema and he realizes, hang on, there's all these people here. If I can get up on the screen and if I can make a movie about this Dolemite thing, then I don't have to go around and bust my butt. I don't have to go everywhere. I can be everywhere at once, is the way he puts it. So Eddie Murphy plays Rudy Ray Moore in this sort of like, he's sort of like almost like, at the beginning of the film, a bit of a lovable loser. And then it becomes a film all about a gang of people coming together to achieve something that they think is beyond them, and how he's the driving force for it, and all the sort of deals that he pulls and everything. And it's just it is a very, very sweet film. And it's because if you watch the film Dolemite, if you actually watch Dolemite is objectively a bad film. Dolemite is objectively a terrible film, and it's funny because I watched Dolemite Is My Name, and then I went to watch Dolemite, and there's bits where they recreated scenes from Dolemite, and they're so faithful to it they recreate it that it cracks me up as they like how they do the bad acting and the bad thing. And you have Wesley Snipes, who shows up who's at that time in the 70s. Obviously, you didn't have a lot of black people being massive stars in movies or in Hollywood. And this guy was one of the he's a character called an actor called Derville Martin, he was in Rosemary's Baby and all that kind of. So he had a little bit of success, and people knew him for that. And so they offer him the chance to direct this film, which is why he ends up in the film. But the way Wesley Snipes plays him throughout the film, he's just kind of like, so, oh my God, this is so beneath me. And it is a very, very, very funny film. It's very well made. Eddie Murphy is on top form. And it's a bit like, do you remember the film The Disaster Artist?
Oh, yeah,
So The Disaster Artist is a movie made about making a movie, which is The Room, the worst movie ever made. And Dolemite Is My Name has some similarities in that it's a movie about people trying to make this movie. But there's another layer in here because this film, when it came out, as I said, this film is objectively terrible, but it was one of the biggest hits of that year when it came out. And it says a lot about representation. I mean, we're talking about this with Sharon, you were talking about Oscars and all that kind of stuff. That this film became a massive hit because for a while, for the first time, black people in America saw themselves up on screen, saw something, and they didn't care if it was terrible. They were like, hey, this they didn't care. They were like, this represents us. This is something that we made. It came from us. So they did not care if it was bad. So and I think that it just tells a lot. It's almost kind of like, telling Hollywood something. Put people up on screen. They want to see themselves. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. People will go watch it because it's themselves. And it made me think about, have you guys ever heard of Nollywood?
Yeah, Nollywood. Yeah,
the Nigerian film industry, which I've got to be honest with you. A lot of the time with Nollywood, I hang my head in shame because the things are terrible. But
I have seen clips of it, and because you think, you look at the synopsis on the television and think, I'll watch that, and then within 10 minutes you're going, I can't watch this.
They are terrible, but people love them, and it's always, and watching this film almost sort of taught me something or highlighted something to me. It's like people watch it because it's something that we made it, and even though it's terrible, it's terrible. And so that's what I would say. I mean, I think it's a very, very funny film. Dolemite Is My Name. Go watch it if you get a chance. Sean, you would like it. Sharon, it's a bit foul-mouthed.
Okay.
So
I wouldn't like it then.
What are you saying?
It's a bit foul-mouthed, and there are nipples. There are nipples, both in Dolemite Is My Name and even more so in Dolemite. But the characters, the way they spark off each other, and it's just what how is when you see a film and you just feel like a warm fuzzy feeling towards the characters. You want them to succeed. And this film nails that. You just want these people to succeed. You want Rudy Ray Moore to succeed, and you're so happy. I mean, because it's no secret or no spoiler that he does succeed. And you're so happy when he does, and the way it's done, and what it means to the community, and what it means to him, and it's just so well done. I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Cool, excellent.
Wow.
So we haven't really seen much of Eddie Murphy for a while, apart from like Donkey and Shrek, and then we didn't really see him.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think this is like a sign that he's sort of gone back in the mainstream more? Because I don't know what he's been doing the last few years, but he hasn't really had many really successful projects, has he, that have hit the sort of mainstream?
No, he hasn't. I mean, he's been in a few things here and there, but he hasn't really had many things in there. I mean, this film essentially makes you think, man, I wish he was on screen more. It makes you think, oh, I wish he was on screen more. I wish we saw more of him, because he's an amazing presence. He's a great presence and all that kind of stuff. And because he does, like, if you ever looked at video footage of Rudy Ray Moore, even if you watch Dolemite, you realize that he doesn't sound anything like Rudy Ray Moore. He doesn't look much like Rudy Ray Moore, but it's just kind of like he sort of like runs it through an Eddie Murphy prism, and it's great to see him back on screen, and it's great to see him doing stuff that you think he actually you feel like he cares about it, as opposed to he's doing this because he's getting paid. So it's I enjoyed watching it. I would recommend it to anybody, with the caveats I've already said: nipples, language.
Language, yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see him back on screen. So yeah, I'll say that. Right, shall we move on?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, we move on.
Okay, cool. And now we get on to somebody else who has not been on screen for a while, and that is Martin Lawrence in the film Bad Boys for Life on cinema. Now, I'm the only one who's seen this out of the three of us. So what I have done is I have actually phoned up one of my friends who's called, and this is a name that's going to bamboozle the two of you. Get ready for it. His full name is Wale Awelenje. And that silence is exactly what I expected to happen.
Right. I was trying to be, you know how when I'm one of these people who, when I hear that name, I mentally try to spell that, and I'm thinking, okay, how would I spell that? So that way, because if I can visualize it, then I can break it down and think, okay, maybe I'll attempt to say that. But I've got nothing. I've got some vowels in there, but that's about it.
yes, we do like a vowels. So Wale, so we're talking about Bad Boys for Life. Now, this is a series that I'm going to try and say not too much about it, because I've had a chat with him about it and what he thought about the film, which we're going to play. Well, when you're listening to this, it will play in a second. So it's a film with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. It's the third film in the franchise, in the Bad Boys franchise, and it's this is 17 years after Bad Boys 2. So Bad Boys, and these were made when Michael Bay, our good friend Michael Bay, I would say when he was still making good films. Well, the first one was, because the first film, Bad Boys, I think it's a great film. We watched that film so much because it was made at the time when Will Smith had finished. He stopped the TV show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then he came out and he did Bad Boys. I think probably within a year or a year and a half, he did Bad Boys, Men in Black, and Independence Day. So it was the beginning of Will Smith's, oh my God, he's a movie star kind of thing. And one of the best things about this film has always been the interplay between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. They make a brilliant odd couple. So they're partners in the Miami police force, and but they're pretty much like a bickering old married couple. So everything that they do, they sort of like play off each other, and their chemistry is amazing. So much so that my brother, when I was talking about, Bad Boys for Life is coming out, he was like, you know what? I don't even care. I don't care if this film is bad. I do not care if this film is rubbish. I just want to see those two guys on screen again, bouncing off each other. And I have to be like, you know what? I totally agree with you. I really don't care what this film is like. As long as these two guys are on screen and they're bouncing off each other, I'll be happy with it. And it is, but I'm happy to report it's a very, very good film. It's one of the best popcorn rides that you have recently. You know how when you have an action comedy film that goes along but it still manages to have a story in there and characters you care about. Mm-hmm. That's what they do with this film, Bad Boys for Life, which I think is possibly the best one out of the two of them. It's definitely better than 2.
Wow.
Because Bad Boys 2 was rubbish. Bad Boys 2, that was Michael Bay when he started to go off. That was when he started to think, I can do whatever I want. And Bad Boys 2 is loud, it's brash, it's not good, it's too much. I mean, I can't remember it that well, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of misogynistic. But I'll tell you what, Bad Boys 2 is almost kind of like a Fast and the Furious movie. That's what it is, but without any of the humor. But Bad Boys 1, good.
Yeah, they've turned it up to 11, but not in a good way.
Yes. So you listen to the discussion I had with Wale. This is I think it's a good film. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. It has and I think. Oh, and one thing I have to say is there's a lady called Teresa Randall. And at the time, she was kind of like, I remember when this one came out around about 1996, Teresa Randall for a while was, you know how Hollywood only says there can only be one of anything at a time? She was the black actress at that time. So if there was going to be something, Teresa Randall was going to be in it. And she was really, really great. And when they said they were going to be making this film, my first thought was, I hope they bring Teresa Randall back. They better bring Teresa Randall back. And so when the film starts off and her name shows up in the credits, I was like, yay! And everybody in the cinema probably thought, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
Why is he cheering?
Why is he cheering? Why is he?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen any of these. Have you, Sarah?
No.
Not the Bad Boys. So,
yeah.
I mean, I've been aware of them, and I was speaking to a friend today who said that the first one was absolutely first class.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Really enjoyed it, and they want to see this one.
It hasn't really. It's one. If you haven't seen the Toes, would you say it was accessible if you haven't seen the?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, there's things that they do in there that if you're a fan of the other ones, you'll be like, oh yeah, they mentioned that. Oh my god, yeah, I remember that. There's things that they do with that, but generally speaking, I mean, if you haven't seen the other ones, you can follow this story and you can jump straight in, no problem.
Cool. That's not one that I would rush to see. You, Sharon, do you think? Not really. I mean, I will.
Well, I'm not an action fan.
No,
really.
You're not really, except for The Rock.
Unless The Rock's in it.
And then you are an action fan.
Then yeah, I'm a Rock fan.
A Rock fan, yeah. I guess
well, Dwayne. Let's go with Dwayne.
Dwayne. Oh, I'm sorry. We still call him The Rock, don't we? Yeah. Dwayne Johnson.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more I want to say about the film, but I have to say one thing. I have to say is I think the women in this film, for a film franchise that was originally created to appeal to 13-year-old boys, the women in this film are awesome. I want to give a shout out to Kate DeCastillo, who is amazing and great in this film, and Paolo Nunez, and obviously Teresa Randall. Yeah, I love the fact that they did something with the women in this film, and then they weren't just sort of standing in the background. The focus is on the men, but the women get something to do, and I don't know why, but that means something to me. All right, cool.
Yeah,
I will stop talking about that now because there is more of a discussion to be had in Wale, which you should hear around about now. And hello to a special Netflix versus cinema discussion or chat. This is going to be focused on Bad Boys for Life. And now I have got a friend with me, and that is because the other two on this podcast have been lazy and refused to watch anything. Well, they've watched other stuff, but they haven't watched Bad Boys for Life. So I have got a friend of mine, and his name is Wale. Wale, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. All right. So now we both grew up in Nigeria. We both sort of like going to our whole sort of like nerd film stuff around about the same time when we were around about early teenagers. Would you say, is that right?
Yes, that is absolutely right.
Yeah.
I knew you. I first met you in secondary school, as it was called back then.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want it, we can get into the whole way the Nigerian secondary school system is broken up into JSS and SSS, and people don't quite. Actually, that might sound bad if you say the SS, but but it stood for junior secondary school and senior secondary school, and so yeah, that was right about the time that I think myself like my film nerdery sort of started, and you have sort of like parlayed that and you've carried on with the whole nerdery thing. Will you just tell us a couple of the things that you're involved in?
At the moment, I write for a Nigeria-based comic book company called Comic Republic, a company that I co-founded with a childhood friend of mine, Jide Martin. We print comic books aimed at young Nigerians and, of course, people worldwide. Comics are available for free online at thecomicrepublic.com. And every now and then I babble about movies with a few friends on a podcast called Nerds Notice.
Nerds Notice. All right, cool. Where can people find... so you said comicrepublic.com if you want to have a look at the comics.
Yes.
And so comicrepublic.com if you want to have a look at the comics, and nerdsnotice.com if they want to have read some of your writings, I'm guessing.
Okay, so Nerds Notice is a podcast, kind of an experimental podcast. So if you go to there's a website called nigernerds.com. Okay. It's got the podcast on there.
That's Niger spelled Naija.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were saying it's not what?
Well, it's not. It's not a serious podcast, but what podcast is serious these days?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess we are not one to talk. Quite frankly, we are not one to talk on Netflix versus cinema. All right, and I wanted to speak to you because you started talking on Facebook about Bad Boys for Life. And this is a film, as I said, Sean and Sharon haven't seen. But first up, now, Bad Boys, the original Bad Boys was released around about 1996. This was when we were right in our sort of like secondary school years, and I remember this being a big deal back in Nigeria because it had Will Smith in it, and Will Smith was just coming straight off the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air TV show. He was a hot property. Everybody in Nigeria liked him because they were like, hey, black man on TV. and also with Martin Lawrence at that time. But you said that you never actually saw the original Bad Boys movie.
Yes, that's true. It's interesting. Right now, it sounds a bit weird, but back then, it actually wasn't unusual for people to miss big movies entirely. Because something that might sound a bit surprising is that it was a very long time before the cinema culture actually took off in Nigeria.
Yeah,
around the time when we were young. Around the time when we were young. Exactly. The funny thing is, there actually was a cinema culture earlier on in the sort of early 80s, but around the time when we were young, the country was under military rule, and a whole lot of things, almost anything that was sort of based around recreation just sort of faded away. So there were no cinemas while we were growing up. The only way you could watch movies was if you were able to get VHS tapes of certain movies. So
I remember the video rental store was king in those days. We didn't have Blockbuster, but we had Video Mart and Mega Movies. That was on Lagos Island anyway.
On the bougie side of town where Tosin grew up.
Hey, whatever. I'm proud of my heritage, whatever. Okay, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Before we start a class war. So you somehow missed, because I remember I watched this was a VHS a video rental thing, watching the first Bad Boys thing. I remember the tape just getting a bit worn out. People just would watch that thing all the time, but you sort of missed it. I missed it,
but I wasn't unaware of it because, of course, people watched it, people talked about it. And that was the thing then growing up. There wasn't really a sort of anti-spoiler culture at the time. And I think that was partially due to the fact that at the time, there was no guarantee that you would watch every single movie. I mean, there were some movies that you just accepted you might never watch in your lifetime. So you would sort of badger your friends to tell you every single thing about it. And they just tell you the entire movie. As a matter of fact, I tend to remember you, Tosin, were very good at sort of narrating entire movies with getting a lot of the dialogue eerily accurate. Which I must say is a talent that I see you're yet to put into use.
Oh, good Lord. You're giving me such a total flashback right now. I totally remember this, like gathering around and everybody just saying, this is what happened in the movie, and pretty much reenacted the entire film in the playground or in between lessons, because I think I cared about knowing what happened, but loads of people, you're right, just did not care about knowing what happened in the films. So with that being the case, what made you want to actually watch? Why did you decide to go watch Bad Boys for Life? Seeing as you have, from what you explained to me, you have a very sketchy grasp of the entire franchise, quite frankly.
Well, I'm not a Bad Boys fan, so to speak. Maybe I am now because this movie was so good, so I'll probably go back and watch the earlier ones. But I do consider myself a sort of semi-casual Will Smith fan.
Okay.
So I've gone out to see everything new that he's done, and I found myself sort of liking the movies that he's done, even the bad ones. So I'm an apologist for terrible movies like After Earth, I've tried my best to be an apologist for Gemini Man, but I just can't. So I just sort of went to watch it because Will Smith was in it, and I just sort of thought it would be nice to just kind of watch him try his best once again. And I was pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed myself.
Okay, so tell me, what do you like about Bad Boys for Life then?
Okay, so first of all, there's the fact that it seems after several false starts and several missteps, Hollywood seems to be getting to be finally understanding how to do the whole passing the baton without insulting what has come before.
Okay.
Sort of thing where I'm not a Bad Boys fan,
Yep.
but I could see that one of the primary themes of this show was the fact that, okay, these guys are not as amazing as they used to be, they're not as skilled as they used to be, they're not as competent as they used to be, and there's a new bunch of young operatives coming up. They've got new ways of doing things, and they're going to quote unquote replace them. But I didn't get the sense that it was sort of slapping the face of the fans who loved the way the old movies were. I understand they were Michael Bay movies, so I can imagine they were probably very politically incorrect and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I can just imagine that was the case. I haven't watched them, so I don't know.
Well, to be honest with you, I was going to let you finish, but I think I'll say this now. The first Bad Boys movie was Michael Bay early in his film directing career, when I think he had somebody who was putting some sort of brakes on him, who was sort of challenging some of his things. So it was Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson who produced the first movie, and I feel like they actually sort of curbed the worst of his instincts. So the first Bad Boys film is actually quite good. The second Bad Boys movie, that came after Michael Bay had made, I think, Armageddon and all that, and he just had I think he'd had Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon, and then people were like, oh my god, he's a genius, let him do whatever he wants. And the second Bad Boys movie is a lot more what you just said. Essentially, if you think about Michael Bay and the problems with Michael Bay, the second Bad Boys movie might be about the bit where it started creeping in, because the second one is not that great. So yeah, carry on.
Oh yeah, so that's basically that. I mean, in this case, what you had was sort of the natural aging process. I mean, we saw Martin Lawrence sort of embracing his sort of changing role in the world. Like, okay, I'm not one of the bad boys anymore. Yeah. I need to settle down, manage my family, and so on. And then you've got Will Smith, who's sort of like holding on to the past and trying to be as strong as he used to be, and so on. And rather than making fun of them, although it is a comedy and it does have no problems poking fun at itself. Yeah. Rather than sort of denigrating that, it takes another route, a sort of introspective route, and it shows how the positive aspects of the relationship that these guys had serve as sort of leverage to move them into their new role. I mean, one of the things I loved the most about the movie was how Will Smith effortlessly segued from trying to compete with the new young operatives into essentially being their mentor, being someone who they learn to respect because of his experience and his knowledge, even if his physical capabilities might not all be there. I mean, and I think Will himself has played that role a few times now. So he fell into it effortlessly. I could see him channeling a lot of the energy that he uses on his YouTube channel
Oh yeah.
interacting with his son.
Yeah.
And I noticed he brought a bit of that into Gemini Man as well.
Yeah.
So
there are quite a few sort of thematic strands with Gemini Man that I thought, oh yeah, they're bringing that up again. This is probably a better version of the two films that Will Smith was going to play that in, the ones that you expect to be big tent poles in the last year or so. This is definitely the better one. So. And that's about all I'm going to say about that. So all in all, how many? If you're going to rate this out of 5, how many stars would you give it?
Out of 5, right? Okay, that's difficult because I can't deny that I was really happy when I walked out of the cinema.
Yeah.
So I think it passes the gut check test.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually sat down to go, okay, let me give it a proper analysis. What are the themes? Blah, 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 blah. Haven't done that yet. I just know I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give it 5 stars because there are a few things I think could have been done better. There are some problems I had with it.
For me, mostly in the third act. Like towards the end, I'm like, don't like that.
Yeah, exactly. There were quite a few things. Exactly.
I was like,
sort of stretching.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, sort of pushing the bounds of plausibility. And there are a few things that happen where you're like, okay, this is a bit comic book like. This shouldn't work. And there were a few things that I thought were a little. I don't know. I just I didn't like. There were a few things that happened that I sort of didn't like the optics of.
And I think for me also one of the big things was the fact that it ends up doing something that I absolutely despise in movies, which is sequel baiting. And
yes,
it ends up doing the sequel bait, and the sequel bait that they put down. I'm like. Well, okay, cool. If you do end up making another one of these, that is not a film I want to see. there are films that there's ways you could go with this and sequelize this thing, and I can think of other ways in which I would like to see other films, but not that one. And I'm like, that one just raises way too many questions. I know this is an action movie and everything like that, but at some point you have to talk about some sort of moral consequence to what's going on. And the movie that you are touting at the moment is it's not quite. I mean, it depends on how you do it, but you're going to work very hard to not make it morally bankrupt. So.
Exactly. So I think you've driven to the heart of the problem that I have with the when you get to the end of the movie. The movies is rather in the early parts of the movie. It's very clear about its message. It's like, okay, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. The bad guys are bad, the good guys are good, and the bad guys are doing bad things, and we hope they get punished for it. And then when it gets towards the end, it then starts to go, oh, but then this, oh, but now that, oh, now because this, we can excuse all these things. And we will then also not excuse all those things for this other person because of the way they are behaving to this person that we, the audience, like. And because we like them, that absolves them of all wrongdoing.
I think it starts off being a brilliant, one of the best made popcorn rides I think I've had in a while. that does not involve people in spandex and does not involve the world ending or anything like that, or half the world, people in the existence being snapped out of existence.
Exactly.
It starts off being like one of the best popcorn rides, and you're like, this is just great. And I think Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, their chemistry is undeniable. And to quote my brother, who said before this film, he was like, I don't care if this film is rubbish. I just want to see those guys back on screen together. And I totally agree with you. What?
One thing I will say is this movie has been an excellent advertisement for the other two movies. I love their dynamic, and I just can't wait to see how well they got on when they were younger.
The dynamic, it's really good in the first one. It's a bit labored in the second one, but that's because Michael Bay, I don't know, had issues. by the time the second one came around, he really thought he was the king of the world. But anyway, I've got to let you go. How many stars would you give it?
4.
4. All right, cool. I think that's around about the same.
No, sorry. 3.5.
3.5.
Since you reminded me about the ending, I have to knock off half a star. 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I think I would have to go around about 4, but it's sheesh. But anyway, great performances all around, and Kate de Castillo, that woman is awesome. But
amazing. She was the best. That woman is best awesome. Thing about the movie. That woman
is. I think essentially for a film that's called Bad Boys and has always been very sort of like, the kind of essentially, it was originally made as a franchise to appeal to 13-year-old boys. For a film that's done that, some of my favorite things are the women in the film. The women in the film. So it's which I think it's good because seeing as a lot of the film is about maturing, there's a lot of stuff in there that's about the characters themselves maturing, and I think even the franchise maturing and going, yeah, you know what, those 13-year boys might have grown up a bit.
Yeah, but Will is pushing 50, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he might be over. but whisper it in case the Hollywood gods hear. In case the Hollywood gods hear, go, what?
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Tosin.
No problem, man. We'll chat soon. And now we will carry on with our Netflix stuff, or Netflix and Friends stuff. And this is Sean. Sean, you're going to talk to us about The Furthest.
I am, yep. The Farthest, actually.
The Farthest.
I see now. There was, The Farthest, they call it. This was, I actually saw this on Amazon. It's an Amazon one. And it was more of a documentary, because way back in 1977, way back in 1977, they launched the Voyager probes, basically, which were these ones that were to discover the planets, discover the outer planets.
Yeah.
And they sent these 2 off, Voyager 1, Voyager 2. And this is the story of like the satellite, the furthest, Voyager 2. It's now travelling interstellar, so it's gone beyond our solar system. It's the first ever thing. And on the way, they looked at all the outer planets, and some of the moons. And this is the story of the whole, because I mean, it was around in the 70s, the space program. I mean, the fuel is done by if you look at the actual satellite, the fuels, they've used nuclear power so that because it lasts for thousands of years. So this is the whole documentary, and they talk to the people. Carl Sagan, you've heard of Carl Sagan?
Oh yeah, him.
And they talk about because they made this record. They made a gold record with 147 different greetings, in Earth's languages, and some sounds and some. So on this golden disc, like a record, basically a record, they've got all this information, and there was they've even got like the anatomy of a male and a female, and there was a lot of that during that time they saying, a lot of people were saying, no, we can't send them out, that's they're disgusting, and then nothing. I mean, they're really, really sort of super mild. They're just like a naked man out. And a naked woman sort of holding their hands up to say hello. So
is the focus of the documentary about them sending the probe up? Is it like how they send the probe up, or is it like what it meant at the time, or is it like what?
Well, yeah, no, it actually goes past the planets. So you
see the footage that Voyager has sent back.
Says there. So basically, and then when they get near the planets, they say, oh yeah, it takes a photo of it, so they obviously speeded it up, but you can actually see the planets getting small and then gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger
as the orbit goes back and forth.
And then they had two different types of cameras, like a long one and a more focused one, and obviously you had all these people on the mission control, putting all the pieces together to see.
So we see all the pictures of Jupiter's rings, and we know that we found out that they were made up of loads of little tiny rocks, didn't we? That sort of thing.
That sort of thing. Yeah, and they found out that actually Neptune has got rings orbiting it as well. Yeah. And it's a shame, really. My favourite planet, Uranus, which I really, really liked. They said wasn't very exciting. It was just like a blue ball. Yeah. And a couple of the moons of Uranus were quite
Why is that your favourite planet?
I don't know why. Perhaps it's named after because it's like the moons are named after something in the Tempest, and I've always liked Miranda from the one called Canada's. But yeah, so and this moon, there's a certain moon there called. They don't mention this in the documentary, but there's a moon called Miranda, which is just like totally weird. It's like loads of. They do mention it slightly, but it's like just it's not a regular shape. It's all a very much irregular shape. But it just, I mean, I was what. As I say, when it was launched, I was like 17, and I mean, space travel. I don't know whatever happened why it suddenly.
We stopped being really excited.
Yeah,
about
we stopped being explored.
Because I do remember when I was a child in the sort of the 80s and beyond, it was exciting. The space shuttle was go up and down all the time, it was an exciting time.
They do mention the time about the Challenger, because obviously the accident. So. I guess after that, but I mean, what was so great about this is it actually worked, because all the things that could have gone wrong, and they've got all this, and they were like, because they were using the planet's trajectory to shoot them off. But the photographs of the planets are absolutely lovely.
It's stunning.
And I just got to say this because before it leaves, they were sort of saying, because obviously it takes a while to program it and stuff, they have all these massive dishes, and they wanted it to take a picture of the solar system looking backwards as it was going out.
Yeah.
And they said, people saying, there's no scientific value. There's no scientific value in that. But anyway, in the end, they did. And so you looking back on the solar system, and they couldn't see the Earth. They didn't know where the Earth was. But then as they examined it more, and it's about the size of a pixel, and they've got this lovely, lovely picture of like in a beam of light saying, and that is Earth, and it's like a little pixel. And it just got me really, really excited. But the thing is, I mean, I guess this is where Amazon, Netflix, whatever comes in quite handy. I mean, I've got to be honest. I was watching this while I was travelling. I actually downloaded it to watch while I was on the ferry. So, I mean, the mediums for that are very, very, very handy. But this shot, I've got a picture of it now. I've just mentioned about it with looking back at the solar system. It shows the Earth. Tiny little pixel. They said this is the Earth.
And we do know that Voyager does live in cultural memory, doesn't it? Because of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
That's it. Yeah, Vega. Yeah.
So is Voyager still out there then?
Voyager's out there. Yeah, it's left our solar system. It's gone.
Does it still send back information?
It takes a while, but they're hoping it will. But they've sort of. They sort of said goodbye to it, really. Yeah, basically that's it.
Space rubbish, whatever there is, or maybe
but it's called. It's got. I think the half-life of whatever fuel they put in it is like I mean, we're talking like 70,000 years or something. Fuel, nuclear fuel. So
it's just.
It's like a big thing. If you look on it, there's like a huge tail, and that's where that's like the fuel rods.
So it's just going to keep flying and just going to keep flying and just going to keep flying.
Just going to go, and see what happens. So
like silent running.
Like silent running, yeah. So it is like you're exactly right. The first Star Trek, the motion picture.
Yeah, it was that Voyager
coming back, wasn't it? That was it. Yeah, it was Voyager coming back to gather information. And it had been all the things. So I mean, if you're interested in, probably wouldn't interest people that aren't interested in space travel or anything like that. But I mean, I found this quite gripping. I was really, really excited about it. And I mean, as it goes, you see the pictures click, 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 click as the planet's getting nearer, and beautiful, beautiful shots, really. Although most of them were in black and white, and they had to put them through. So they took black and white photos because it was a better definition.
Yes.
And they discovered storm. There's this like massive storm on Neptune, which is an interesting planet, which would is as big as you could put like 10 Earths in this storm, and it just constantly moves around. Yeah. So yeah, brilliant. So short, 4-star for me on this.
4-star, 4-star, and you reckon that even if people are not really, really into the space travel, they will still get something from this.
They might get something from it. They might, I mean, I think it to me it was more of a something you could watch on maybe BBC 4. It's really a documentary basically, but some of the footage is great and everybody's really excited and upbeat, and they said, wow, and when we discovered, they've got all the different people that were doing the mission controls, and you can actually see them when they're younger and then they're obviously when they're older, and But yeah, no, that shot of looking back at the solar system, that was something else. Yeah, so 4-star for this.
All right, cool.
But it is a documentary.
All right, cool. So moving on to going back to cinema. But I mean, documentaries are good. I mean, one of your favorite films of last year, I remember you waxing lyrical about it, was, well, there are 2 documentaries, Diego Maradona and Apollo 11. Once again, with the space thing.
Yes.
You were like absolutely raving about those. So as far as I'm concerned, documentaries are films. So
Yeah,
So,
I think so. If you're make documentaries, you're a filmmaker,
yeah,
aren't you? Really?
exactly.
So,
Now,
a lot still the. Okay, sorry, yeah, go on.
yeah, because Sean, I can see that you will go on. If we let you, you will go on.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Sharon, now you haven't said much because obviously you haven't watched anything. So what we're going to do for the next 2 things, which is going to be A Hidden Life. This is round 3. A Hidden Life on cinema against Vox Lux on Netflix. And we're going to let you ask questions. So first of all, there's like A Hidden Life is something that Sean has seen. So Sharon, ask questions about ask questions that will make you figure out whether you want to see this film or not.
A Hidden Life. What is it about? Is this the one? I've just seen Sean's just showing me his computer here to say it's set in 1939 in Austria. A tenant farmer, a Franz Jaugerstatter, who lives in this rural life. He basically does not want to become a Nazi. Is that right? To summarise it.
Yeah.
And so, what options if you don't join the party, or if you don't want to cooperate with the new Einschluss and all that? What options are you left with? What happens to this chap?
Okay. So this is basically a story. Is obviously the war outbreaks they've done. Austria is obviously incorporated into the Greater Reich, and there's this. It starts off. There's this village which is it's just like a farming community,
like
a small Alpine, basically beautiful. It's got the mountains in the background, and there's a lovely valley, and everybody, they've got like a water mill and everything, and it's all, it's very happy. Everybody really likes each other and all that sort of thing. Anyway, when the war comes on, they're basically called up to do their basic training. So this group, and this chap is one of them, and they do the basic training, but obviously France falls, and it's all quite good, so they get demobbed, if you like, and they're allowed to go back home. So you get another section of him, and he has children. He has like 3 little girls, and it's obviously, this is a Terence Malick film, so it's like The Thin Red Line and Badlands and all those. So this, you've got massive, beautiful vistas. Sometimes they linger a little bit too much.
Well, I can imagine if it's Terence Malick, it's going to be a bit of a slow film.
Yeah. So it's quite a slow movie, but it's quite interesting. Anyway, and then basically things are going a little bit.
The rise of the Reich.
Yeah. So things are starting to go bad. So the people from the village are obviously getting their call-up papers, but they have to swear to Adolf Hitler, and this guy just.
Is this a matter of conscience, or is it religion? Is he
conscious? Yeah, he just thinks
it's
they're
just
doing
a matter of
horrible
conscience
things.
that he does not support.
He won't support. So
Hitler.
Anyway,
is there just any reason why? So if there's no one reason, he
just thinks they're doing terrible things. He just doesn't agree with the thing, and he doesn't want to swear to Adolf Hitler. So, and he goes to the priest, and he sort of. Says what you're going to do, and he says, well, this is going to cause trouble and all that. He says, well, I'm still going to. He says, well, you work in a hospital or anything like that. He said, no, I don't want to do any work for the right. So there's no room for like conscientious objectors then in the right.
Oh
no, that's it. They're quite bad. But anyway, he goes off to training, and like the people there are saying, we'll swear to Adolf Hitler. I swear, but he won't. So as they're walking along, the officer's walking along the line, and he says. He won't do it. He won't do it. So they obviously beat him up, arrest him. They put him in prison. It's not like a concentration camp or anything. It's just like a normal prison in Berlin. They ship him off to Berlin, and he goes to see like the priest, and the priest says, "Look, the church is you can say what you say stuff, but in your mind you don't have to do it. It won't. The church won't condemn you because he's obviously Catholic. Right. I suppose the church won't condemn you. Say it." And just think what you want, but he can't even bring himself to say it. He's got a lot of morals, and then so he gets to put on trial, and the lawyer says to him, well, why don't you say you work in hospital, sign this, and I could probably, you could do some work, but he won't. He totally refuses to do it. But he's allowed to write to his wife. So throughout the film, you get he's writing his letters to his wife, and it goes and you see it goes back to the village, obviously, and reading. But his wife and all the children are just absolutely ostracised. You know what I mean? Like the villagers spit at them and all stuff like that. And there's one scene which is really, really sad where the little girls want to play with other little girls as like a possession, and the other children don't want to sort of talk to them and throw stones at them and stuff like that. So yeah, sorry.
So if I may, because I mean, this is something that obviously is Terence Malick, and it's been made. It's pretty much about the rise of Nazism in Germany, but from a German perspective, because this film is in German, right?
Yeah,
it's in German. It's not in English.
No,
okay. Because it's something that I've been wondering. It's almost kind of saying that look, there were people in Germany at the time who were not Nazis. So because I know a lot of times when they make a World War II movie, it's done very black and white, us and them. That German equals Nazi. And it sounds like what you're saying is that in this film, it's trying to show a human story of somebody who just say like, look, not everybody was happy with what Hitler was doing in Germany.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was thinking like Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He was imprisoned for his sort of refusal to swear allegiance to.
I mean, it's quite interesting, the process, because I mean, it's not like when he's in prison. I mean, and he actually goes to court. It's not like it's a proper trial, It's not like all right, okay, you're guilty, we're going to do this to you. It was a proper trial. It was a military tribunal, actually. So there's like all these judges, and he actually goes and talks to the general. I think, Sharon, you would probably enjoy this film.
As a film, I want to see.
Yeah. So it's but it didn't come to the island. Obviously, I saw this on the main.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was about to start going for one of my rants about how the films get to the island, but they don't get up here.
Why is it not coming?
Yeah. So this didn't come to the island. This was in Bournemouth. I saw this in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So because obviously with the football, and I mean, I mean, I've got to say, it's a shame that they don't show some of these things, really. Because I'm sure there would be a market for them.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, we just have to get Netflix on it. Netflix, give Terence Malick some money, and Netflix will get this thing soon.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Well, how many stars would you give it?
Okay. Well, as I say, I mean, I think this is Terence Malick. He's starting to. I really like Badlands. I really like The Thin Red Line. Some of his other stuff that I saw, The Tree of Life. I wasn't. It was more like that was more. I don't know about that. The Tree of Life was like.
Is he starting to become a parody of himself?
Possibly. But I mean, I thought the film was beautiful. It's beautifully shot, and it was quite interesting, and it kept me engaged. I didn't get too bored, so I would probably give this a 4.
All right.
Just one more question: is it based on a real person?
Yes,
it is. It's based on a real person.
Definitely based on a real.
And so
person.
based on his own letters, or his real letters.
There's a book about it that was written, which is the letters that he sent to his wife and was sent back. Because as I say, because the interesting thing is it is a prison. It's like a prison story, but it's not a concentration camp type prison. It is an actual proper prison and a proper trial, and
possibly before they built the concentration camps. But
no, they would have been built and all that.
So
but
this is post-war.
But this is not. This is this is like a military. Well, it's just like a normal prisoner, and he's been thrown in a prison with a cell, and they have the wandering around and that. And there's a bit where he goes, "Oh, if the man with the top hat comes, who's obviously the executioner, and we know someone's in for the." Yeah, no, it's some people might find it a bit long, but it is visually stunning.
Yeah.
And I think he's back to his form.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Try to track this down then. Hopefully, well, they probably will have to wait till it's on a platform.
Yeah, but I think it would be right up your street.
Oh,
I so wish I'd have seen it for you.
Yeah.
It would have been like when we went to see Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, there's a website that I think if anybody is into films, that it's actually quite cool, especially if a film is based on a true life story. Is a website worth knowing. It's called History versus Hollywood. So you can type in history versus Hollywood, and you can type in any film, and you can see what in the film actually happened and what they made up. Or anything like.
Yeah.
I think there's a YouTube thing about that as well.
Is there? I've got a book I bought years ago. That was called Past Imperfect.
Right.
And it was basically how certain key events are shown on screen and the differences between this is what really happened and this is how it's portrayed.
I think I might have that, Sharon.
I think I lent it to you and I don't know if I ever got it back.
No,
but
I
it doesn't
didn't.
matter if
I'm
I
pretty
didn't
certain
get it
I've got
back.
it somewhere, but I'll give you it back. I do.
You don't have
I'm
to.
going to be.
You don't have to.
Well, no, it's pretty mean, but I'm pretty sure I've got it. I'm pretty sure I've seen
But yeah,
it. You gave me to it years ago. Must be
about 10 years ago.
about 10 years ago. Yeah.
It's
but I'm sure
it's Netflix.
Oh,
we talk
sorry about
Netflix. We talk cinema, and we also do detective work to figure out where Sharon's books
yeah,
are
that's
going.
it. It's worked out. It has worked out really well.
I have so many books of mine have gone, but I'm philosophical about it. You know, a book exists beyond outside of my grasp.
Right,
so if it's been read, or if it's something enjoyed by someone, it adds to the life of that book.
Yeah, that was when we first met. I should think.
Yeah.
It was. Do you know what? It's really weird how coincidence happened. Today's been a day like that because I just happened to go in the staff room and someone had like a PowerPoint up about Cromwell. Well, this morning, on Monday on Start the Week, which is Radio 4 at 9 o'clock, this thing was all about Cromwell and Richard Cromwell and all that. And I said to this lady teacher, the history teacher, I said, you're doing Cromwell. There was this thing on that, and she looked on her phone. She said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to play it. That's brilliant. Oh, thanks." Do you know? It's just one of those But I mean,
happens. It
so,
just happens.
So you found.
I had a conversation today about Cromwell, bizarrely. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Small world.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to go into a final film?
Sorry, mate. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
No problem. Don't worry. There's sometimes, as I say, I just give up trying to sort of like keep us on track. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a nice, interesting rabbit hole. Yeah. Let's go down there.
That's it. Sometimes it's nice to, go off in different tangents.
It's colour and flavour.
Yes, it is. All right, cool. So, Sharon, now we go into our final film, Vox Lux. Do you have any questions you want to ask me about this to figure out whether you're going to queue it up on your Netflix?
Yes. Okay, I have never heard of it. It's not one of the ones because I haven't even turned on my Netflix account this week. So normally you tend to get the same. You've got to watch this because you've watched something completely unrelated recently, or you get the trailer that autoplay. So is this an autoplay trailer or is this one that you've gone and found?
It's something that I knew about it when it was in cinemas, and I never got a chance to watch it. So when it showed up on Netflix, I was like, "Oh yes, that! I want to see what that was all about."
Yeah. Oh, cool. So it's not a Netflix original then? It's something that's had a previous
It's not a Netflix
release.
original. This is one of those things that when Netflix comes into its own, where, as Sean says, like, for instance, A Hidden Life, we're not going to really see that in many cinemas. Not many people are going to get to see it in the cinema. So it will have a short run in cinemas. It will show up on Netflix, and then that's when you can finally get to see all the vistas.
You get to enjoy
on a
it.
tiny screen, the way Terence Malick intended.
Yeah. Well, you have to peer at it. See, what's that over there? So what's Vox Lux about?
Vox Lux is about it is one of these sort of edgy, challenging films that it starts off with a girl going to school and all that kind of stuff, and then when she's in school she meets up with a teacher. She gives the teacher an apple. Then one of the classmates comes into the place, and the teacher says, "Oh yeah, there you are. What are you doing here?" And he says, "My name is whatever." Says what his name is, and then he brings out a gun and shoots the teacher. Then
hello.
And it essentially becomes about, there's this school shooting that happens where a lot of the students get shot. This girl who you see to begin with, her name is Celeste. She gets shot, but her and her sisters they're always writing songs and all that. While she's recovering, they have a night vigil for all the people who get killed. And she and her sister, she stands up to give a speech, but she says, "I don't really know what to say, but my sister and I wrote a song." So she sings this song at the vigil. It gets recorded. It goes up onto YouTube. And then she becomes a national celebrity because she sort of like encompasses the way the nation feels because of this one song that she sung. And everybody's like, yeah, she just captured our hearts then. Sure enough, somebody goes, "All right, cool. Now we're going to take this and we're going to make this, we're going to take this song and we're going to record it properly. And we're going to do all the other songs and we're going to make her into a star." So essentially, it turns into a kind of film where it's all about how you make a star, and about how, I think almost it's a commentary on how nowadays all you have to do is go viral with one thing and then you can spin fame out of that. Only thing that is this was a school shooting, and then you spin fame out of that. So it goes a bit weird, and you have this voiceover done by Willem Dafoe that's telling you when Celeste was a kid, blah 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 blah, and all that, and then it switches where it goes to when Celeste is an adult, and now Celeste is played by Natalie Portman, who has a daughter who is played by the same actress who plays Celeste when she's a kid. Does this make sense?
Yeah, yes, it makes sense. But I'm trying to think. It sounded off really good, and I was thinking, well, that sounds really interesting. Now, the more it goes on, it sounds more and more inappropriate. And I'm thinking, that just sounds really just wrong. But maybe it's just an exploration of something that is uncomfortable, the nature of fame.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the thing with this film is that it's not entirely clear what it's about. You watch it and you feel like it's about many different things, but so it touches on the nature of fame. It touches on the uncomfortable nature of how we can spin anything into fame. It touches, because the film, actually, right at the beginning of the film, what happens is that you see some people who wear masks like Celeste wears on her first album, and then they go and they have a mass shooting on a beach. And then, so there's this sort of thing about the fact that she became famous because of a shooting, quite frankly. And now from her fame, people are sort of wearing her masks and going and shooting more people. But that isn't really explored. And it's almost kind of like this whole thing was made as an acting exercise for Natalie Portman, because once Natalie Portman shows up, she does this whole New York thing and she just chews up all the scenery, and there isn't really a plot of anywhere that you're going, but it's kind of going towards a place where it's about her doing a concert, but the concert doesn't particularly have any significance. It's not like it's the final concert of her career or anything like that. And there's the whole idea of how she's having to change and do things differently because she's trying to stay relevant. So there's some bits where it looks like they're talking about Madonna. There's some bits where it looks as if she's a bit Lady Gaga-ish. The ending of the film, the final scene of the film, is just kind of weird because you're just kind of watching it going, okay, this is good, but where are we going? Oh, good Lord, the film's ended. What? And you just sort of left going, okay, what was all that about? Why did we do all that? Why was that all there? So it is an interesting film. I mean, I would say it's an interesting film. Natalie Portman is great in it, but it's kind of like you ever watch a film where you think, oh, that person is great. I'm just not sure what she's being great in service of. Yeah, and it's I'm not sure what the point is, and it's a film that doesn't seem to, either it doesn't know its point or it doesn't want to tell you what its point is. Either that's part of the thing, and it's a weird one. There's some interesting things in it. It's challenging in some areas. I quite liked it and was frustrated by it at the same time. Any more questions?
Well, it just sounds almost like someone had like a stream of consciousness sort of session where they thought, what if this happened and then that happened and then this led to that and then this led to that, and then any one of those ideas might have been a good film, but all of them in the same film made it sound a bit more muddied. It hangs. So,
well, the thing is, I think, okay, the stream of consciousness thing definitely with Natalie Portman, because once she shows up on screen, she hardly shuts up for the entire rest of the running of the film. She just keeps talking. For the rest of the film. You have other characters like Jude.The is in the film as the manager. And I think the central thing of the film holds together a bit better. Her character is a bit like that. There's a bit sort of scattergun all over the place. The central thing of the film holds together a bit better than that, but you're not entirely sure what it's trying to say. It is, and so I think it's a curiosity. It's a curiosity. It's a very engaging curiosity, but you end up not being sure what it is they're trying to tell you. So I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Yep. Oh,
that sounds like a reasonable
perfect timing. Perfect timing.
It's almost as if I have the timer right in front of me.
Indeed.
All right, cool. Yeah, I would give it a 3. I mean, for some people it could be a 4, but I think I would have to go down on a 3 because it's really, really intriguing, but it doesn't quite carry it all the way to the end. But I mean, hey, if you guys want to watch it and let me know what you think,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. I don't think I'd probably rush to
No,
see it.
it's not one that I would say rush to see it because I think it's more kind of like, when you're in the mood for something a little bit weird, a little bit unconventional.
That's like me most of the time, so perhaps I will.
Yeah.
I did like Neon Demon. Did you ever see Neon Demon, Toast?
No, I never did. I heard what it was about.
Because I quite like that.
I heard what it was about, and I was like, that doesn't sound like my kind of thing.
No, I did enjoy that. So
yeah,
I did like.
I
Neon
heard
Demon.
it's about models becoming cannibals. So
it is something like that. Yeah, something along those lines.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Cool. So
a bit of the Countess Dracula thing.
What?
So yeah. No, sorry. I was just thinking that when you said about cannibalism, it was made me. Yeah. The reason for cannibalism is there was an old film called Countess Dracula with Ingrid Pitt. I think must have been a 1970s film where she was a vampire, but she had to bathe in the blood of virgins.
The beauty
to keep the beauty,
Ooh.
So, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Let's go on tangent again. Let's get back to where we.
No problem.
Sorry.
So all that's left to say.
It was actually
Yep.
it was like the other day. I was talking to someone, and there was a film that they'd never heard of. A question came up in a quiz, and it was the Egyptian clay thing that comes to life if you do incantations. Which is a
Golem, yeah.
And I said there was a Roddy McDowall film with.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, never heard of it. I said, yeah, it was called It. And we looked it up, and sure enough, there it was. And they go, well, I'll be damned. 1971 or something it was. I knew I'd seen it. With old Roddy McDowall, sorry.
Roddy McDowall, yeah.
Caesar in...
Yeah.
I know him from... Yeah, Planet of the Apes, yeah.
Sorry, I'm off on a tangent again. I'm off on one. Let's get back.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Now, Sean, come back to us. Get back.
I'm back.
Whether it's Patricia or Kevin or whichever one of you it is, come back.
Yeah, be back at Patricia.
I think that was Kevin for like
that was
30
Kevin for
seconds.
about 30 seconds there, wasn't it?
All right, so who do you think has won this week?
I reckon it's a tough call this week.
I'm trying to think. We had a few fours in there. I'm trying to think where were the fours spread. I think it was cinema.
I'll have to agree with you this time, Sharon. But I wouldn't surprise me if it's like pretty even. I'm going to call it a draw.
Oh, and Sean gets right at the end. It is a dead heat.
Oh.
It's a dead heat because on both of them we had 2 4s and a 3 on cinema and 2 4s and a 3 on Netflix. So Richard Jewell had a 3, Bad Boys for Life had a 4, A Hidden Life had a 4 on the cinema side. Dolemite Is My Name had a 4, The Farthest had a 4, and Vox Lux had a 3. Giving everybody...
Oh,
wow.
So even level,
Yes.
Even
Stevens. So yeah, we are happy with whichever one you go this week. We say you will have a good time. Go watch any of these; it'll be good. But it's actually quite a high-scoring week, I think.
Yeah.
So all that's left to say is a goodbye from me.
A goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
We will see you guys next week when I think we would have seen David Copperfield by then. Besides that, I have no.
Yes.
Yeah. Besides, I have no idea what else is out in the cinema.
No, I mean I'll probably try and catch Bad Boys. I think maybe just so I can give you my opinion because I've not seen the others, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't think you have to see the others for this, but I think Sean, you'll enjoy this, especially when it talks about action heroes getting older. It's good. It's quite.
That's me. I'm an action hero. Did you know, Shan? I'm just getting older.
It's quite funny with the things it does, and I do think that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. The thing is, like, there's things in this film that I don't like, especially towards the end. They do some sequel baiting that really get on my nerves. But having Will Smith and Martin Lawrence beside each other, wisecracking off each other, almost makes just works. It pretty much makes up for it. But yeah, Sean, you go see it so that we can talk about it again later. But anyway, goodbye from me.
Okay.
And me.
I think we've already done this, but anyway, goodbye. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya. Bye.